Hey friends, and welcome. And this is yet another video, and in this video we'll be looking at the 2020 GCE Mathematics Paper 2. Paper 2. 2020 GCE Mathematics Paper 2. So grade 12s. I hope you're ready. Let us get into doing some math. So I hope you're ready. So let's do this. So here's our question 1a, and the question says, given that matrix A equals 7, 4p, 9, 5p, find the value of p for which the determinant of A is -2, and question 2 says, hence find the inverse of A. So we have the matrix A being equal to 7, 4p, 9 and 5p. This is our matrix A, and the first part of question 1a reads or says, find the value of p for which the determinant of A is -2. So how do we find the determinant? So we say the major diagonal, product of the major diagonal minus the product of the minor diagonal. So what values do we have in the major diagonal? We have 5p and 7. So say 5p multiplied by 7 minus minor diagonal product, which is 9 multiplied by 4p. So 9 multiplied by 4p. And this should be equal to the determinant. In this case, we are given our determinant to be -2. 5p multiplied by 7 gives us a 35p, minus 4 multiplied by 9 gives us 36p, right? Equal to -2. 35 minus 36 gives us -p equal to -2. So therefore, the value of p is 2. And we have found the value of p being equal to 2. So maybe let's write it there. So p okay, anyways, let's just move on. P equal to 2. We can move on to part 2 of the question. Part 2 is saying find the inverse of p. So how do you find the inverse? So to find the inverse, remember, we have to swap the values in the major diagonal and then give the values in the minor diagonal negative signs. So say the inverse, so A inverse equals 1 over the determinant, then multiplied by 7. So we said we swap these two. So we have 5 here, 5p, and we will give this 4p a negative sign, and we will give this 9 a negative sign, and the 7 that was here will come down there, right? And this is equal to 1 over, what is our determinant? Our determinant is -2, and we will have 5p, p is 2, so 5 multiplied by 2 gives us, 5 multiplied by 2 gives us 10. 4p, -4p, 4 multiplied by 2 is 8, negative sign, so -8. And 9, -9. And 7 remains as 7. So if you want, you can go a step further and simplify this. But I believe if you were to leave your answer in this form, you'd get the full marks. But let's go on and let's go a step further and simplify this a bit further. So we'd have 1 over 2 divided by 10 divided by -2 will give us -5. -8 divided by -2 gives us a 4. -9 divided by -2 will just remain as 9 over 2 without the negative signs. And 7 divided by negative 2 will be negative 7 over 2. So this is negative 7 over 2. And just for doing that, I believe you would be awarded full marks for this question. So here's our question number 1B. Question 1B says, Mutola and Mwambi were to be selected as members of a netball team. The probability of selecting Mutola is 7 over 8, and that of selecting Mwambi is 9 over 10. Find the probability that 1, only one of them is selected, and 2, none of them is selected. So how do we work around? How do we work and how do we solve this question? So firstly, Mutola, for the probability that Mutola would be selected, so say Mut being selected is 7 over 8. 7 over 8. And the probability that Mwambi, so MWA, being selected is 9 over 10. Right? So now what is the probability that Mutola won't be selected? So you have to remember to say probability is always out of 1. So if the probability of this guy being selected, or this girl guy, I don't know, being selected is 7 over 8, then the probability of this person not being selected would simply be 1 minus this probability. So we'll say P, probability of Mutola not selected, Mut not, okay, let's just say that, is equal to 1 minus 7 over 8. And 1 minus 7 over 8 simply gives us 1 over 8. So this is 1 over 8. And the probability of something not being selected is simply equal to 1 minus 9 over 10, which is simply equal to 1 over 10, right? Now, what is the probability of only one of them being selected? So for one of them to be selected, it means the other won't be selected. So we first start with the probability. So to find the probability of one being selected, we say probability of Mut selected and not Mwambi. And okay, this will be a bit cumbersome, so let's do this. So to find the probability of only one of them being selected, we say the probability of this one being selected and not this one, and the probability of this one being selected and not that one. So we'll say 7 over 8. This is the probability of this one being selected and this one not being selected, which is 1 over 10. So multiplied by 1 over 10 plus the probability of this one being selected and not that one, which is 9 over 10 multiplied by 1 over 8. And this would then give us, so we need to use our calculator. So we'll say 7 over 8. So let's just say, okay, 7 divided by 8 multiplied by 1 divided by 8. And this gives us 0.109375, and in terms of fractions this is simply 7 over 64. All right, yes, 7 over 64 plus 9 over 10 multiplied by 1 over 8. So we'll say 9 divided by 10 multiplied by 1 divided by 8. That gives us that. In terms of fractions, that's simply 9 over 80, right? And we'll say our answer plus 7 divided by 64. That gives us that, which in decimals is this will then give us 7. 8 by 10 gives us 80 plus 9 by 1 gives us 9 over 10 by 8 gives us 80, and this then comes to 7 plus 9 gives us 16 over 80. 8 into 16 is 2, and 8 into 80 gives us 10. This can be simplified to 1 over 5. So therefore, the probability of one of them being selected simply 1 over 5. So we can write 1 over 5 there. And we can move on to question B2. It says none of them being selected. So for none of them to be selected, we would simply these two probabilities being multiplied. So it means this one and that one have not been selected. So we'd have 1 over 8 multiplied by 1 over 10, and this gives us 1 over 80. So the probability of none of them being selected is 1 over 80. We can move on to the next question. So this is question 2. Question 2a says simplify y plus 1 over y squared minus 1. How do we simplify this? So whenever you see something like this, where you have a square and another square this side, you should always remember to say there's something called the difference of two squares. So this is a square, this is also a square. Why am I saying it's a square? Because when you square root 1, you get 1. So 1 squared is 1. So whenever you have such an expression, you should always remember to say this is equal to y plus 1, which is the square root of this plus the square root of that, multiplied by y minus 1, which are the same values, but then this time are being added. Okay, so we can replace this with that, and we will have y plus 1 over y plus 1 y minus 1. And from there, this and that can go, and you would have 1 over y minus 1. And can this be simplified any further? I believe not. So this is as simple as it gets, and we can move on to the next question. Here's our question number 2b. The question says the sum of n terms of a geometric progression GP is given by 10 minus 10 over 2n. Find the sum of the first 4 terms of this GP. The sum of n terms of a geometric progression GP is given by 10 minus 10 over 2n over 2 to the power n. Find the sum of the first 4 terms of this GP. Okay, so we are given to say the sum Sn equals 10 minus 10 over 2n, right? Find the sum of the first 4 terms. So we'll say S4 equals 10 minus 10 over 2 to the power 4, right? This gives us 10 minus 10 over 2 to the power 4 is? 2 to the power 4 is simply 2 by 2, 4, 16. So we have over 16, right? And we would use our calculator at this point. We would say 10 divided by 16 gives us, and 10 minus the answer gives us gives us that value 9.375. So the sum of the first 4 terms is simply 9.3. This is a 375. 9.375, so we can write it there. So the first 4 terms gives us 9.375. Can move on to question 2, which is saying the first term. So we know that the sum of terms is given by that, and the sum of the first term, the first one term is simply the first term itself. So S1 equals 10 minus 10 over 2 to the power 1. This gives us 10 minus 2, 10 to the power 10 over 2 gives us 5. So 10 minus 5 gives us 5. So therefore the first term itself is 5, because when you add the first term, it should give you the first term itself. And the next question is asking us to find the first 4 terms. So how do we find the first 4 terms? We find the sums of the terms in succession. So we find the sum of the first 2 terms and we subtract the first term. We find the sum of the first 3 terms, we subtract the sum of the first 2 terms, and lastly the sum of the first 4 terms minus the sum of the first 3 terms. Okay, so we start with finding the second term. So to find the second term, we'll simply say the sum of the first 2 terms, which is equal to 10 minus 10 over 2 squared, and this gives us 10 minus 10 over 4, and this gives us 10 divided by 4 gives us, and 10 minus the answer gives us 7.5. So if sum of the first 2 terms is 7.5, right? But we know what the first term is. The first term is 5. So the second term, so term 2 is equal to S2 minus A1, and this gives us 7.5 minus 5, which gives us 2.5. So the second term is 2.5. So we have A1 being, or T1, let's name it as T1 being term 1 being 5, term 2 being 2.5. Now we can find term 3 by saying the sum of the first 3 terms equals 10 minus 10 over 2 to the power 3, which is equal to 10 minus 10 over 2 to the power 3 is 2 by 2 by 2, which gives us 8, right? Which gives us 8. So 10 minus 10 over 8, which gives us 10 divided by 8, then 10 minus the answer gives us 8.75, right? So we have 8.75. 8.75. So to find the third term, we'll simply say third term is equal to sum of first 3 terms minus the sum of 2 terms, first 2 terms, which gives us 8.75 minus 7.5. So get our calculator, we have 8.75 minus 7.5 gives us 1.25. So term 3 equals to 1.25. 1.25. So we have this being equated to 1.25. And to find the last term, which is the fourth term, we'll simply say the sum of the first 4 terms minus the sum of the first 3 terms, which is equal to 8. First 4 terms is 9.375, which we found there. 9.375 minus 8.75, which is the sum of the first 3 terms, and this, according to our calculator, gives us 9.375 minus 8.75, and this gives us 0.625. So the last term in this case, which is the fourth term, gives us 0.625. 0.625. That is our fourth term. We can move on to the next question. So we are now on question number 3, and 3a is saying solve the equation 2x squared plus 3x minus 7 equals 0. 2x squared plus 3x minus 7 equals 0, giving your answer to correct to 2 decimal places. So whenever you see a quadratic equation which is asking you to give an answer correct to 2 decimal places, or which has more than 4 marks, 3 marks, then you should know to say the formula that you're going to use to solve that quadratic equation is a quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b plus minus root of b squared minus 4ac, and this is all over 2a, right? And you should remember to say quadratic equations are in this form. So in this case, our a is 2, our b is 3, our c is negative 7. So we have x equals, our b is 3, so minus 3 plus minus root of, our b is 3, so 3 squared minus 4, our a is 2, and our c is 7. This is root of, this is all over 2a, our 2 is, or our a is 2, so we have over 4. And at this point, we are better off calling upon our calculator, and we will have 3 squared minus 4. So I would actually advise you to copy down this whole expression directly onto your calculator just as it is, the 7, and we close the brackets, and we would have negative 47. Just a second. Sorry, so we actually made a mistake. This is minus 7, so this is supposed to be negative 7, not positive 7. So as I was saying, I would advise you to punch the numbers directly onto your calculator just as you see them in that quadratic formula. So we'd have, where's our negative sign? Negative 7, yes, like that, and we would have that. And so we have, this is equal to negative 3 plus root of 65 over 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, or negative 3 minus root of 65 over 4, right? From there we punch it again just as we see it, and we will have negative 3 plus square root of 65 divided by 4. We have 1.266, is equal to 1.266, or punch it again onto your calculator as you see it, -3 minus root of 65 divided by 4 gives us -2.77. So we have -2.77, right? So therefore x equals 1.266, or x equals -2.77. And we are done with 3a. Move on to 3b. So here's our question number 3b. Question 3b says the Venn diagram below shows the number of students in each of the 3 courses at a university. We have mathematics, we have chemistry, and we have physics. So we have math, chem, and physics. And don't know if you are able to see, so just to make sure that you're able to see, let's do this. So this is 6, this is 5 minus x, this is 7, this is 2, this is 3 minus x, and this is x, and this is 4 minus x. Okay, so that is what we have. The first question is saying, given that there were 25 students altogether, find the value of x. So if there were 25 students, then what is the value of x? So how do we find the value of x? If altogether there are 25, it means this plus that plus that plus that plus that plus that plus that should give us 25. So we are going to have 6 plus 5 minus x plus 7 plus x plus 4 minus x plus 3 minus x plus 2 equals 25. We group the like terms. We will have 6 plus 5 gives us 11 minus 7 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2. Then we have the x's. We have minus x plus x minus x minus x. And this is all equal to 25, right? 11 minus 7 gives us 11 minus 7 gives us 4. 4 plus 4 gives us 8. 8 plus 3 gives us 11. Plus 2 gives us 13. So we have 13 minus x plus x gives us 0. Minus x gives us negative x, negative 2x. So we have minus 2x equal to 25, right? So we have 2x equal to, so we just realized we wrote a minus, so this is supposed to be plus. So meaning we will have 11 plus 7, which is 18, plus 4, which is 22, plus 3, which is 25, plus 2, which is 27. So this is supposed to be 27. 27, and we will have 2x. Then 27 minus 2, 5 minus 25, which is equal to 2. And therefore we have x equal to 1. We have x being equal to 1. So let's just write it there. So x equal to 1, right? Then how many students studied mathematics and chemistry only? How many students studied math and chem? So those that studied math and chem are there. So I would say to find those that studied math, would have to replace this x with 1, and we would have 5 minus 1. So we have 5 minus 1, and this is equal to 4. So 4 students studied mathematics and chemistry only. One course only. To find those that studied one course only, would have to add that plus that plus that. So 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 7 gives us, so 6 plus 2 plus 7, and this gives us 15. So those that studied one course only were 15. Chemistry and physics, but not mathematics. Chemistry and physics, but not mathematics. So we'd have this plus that plus that. So we'd have 7 plus 2 plus 3 minus 1, which is 2. So 7 plus 2 plus 2, right? And this gives us 11. So those that studied chemistry and physics, but not mathematics, were 11. And we are done with this question. We'll continue from question number 4, and we will go down and see how far we can go. So thank you very much for watching this video, and see you in the next video. Remember to subscribe. Remember to jump onto the eSchool app, and see you in the next video, and goodbye.